Michael Jackson didn't step into that courtroom, didn't call a press conference, and didn't put his name on a headline. He did something quieter, something only a few people were ever meant to see. When an innocent man was facing trial and the entire town had already decided he was guilty, Michael wrote a private letter that could only hurt him if it leaked. And the moment that letter was read aloud, the whole room changed. It was 1990 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where summer heat clung to everything and rumors traveled faster than facts. The case wasn't famous nationwide, but in that town, it was all anyone talked about, at barbershops, church steps, grocery aisles, and school parking lots. A man named Marcus Hill was on trial. Marcus was a soft-spoken maintenance worker at a local community center. No criminal history, no flashy lifestyle. The kind of man people said good morning to without ever thinking about him again, until someone accused him of something terrible. The accusation became a wildfire because it fit what people wanted to believe, that someone ordinary could be a monster. The newspapers printed his name before evidence was even discussed. A local radio host called him obviously guilty on air. People started driving past his mother's house at night, slowing down just long enough to let their headlights wash over the porch like a warning. Marcus's court-appointed attorney, Elena Brooks, did what she could with what she had: thin resources, tight deadlines, and a community already poisoned by certainty. But Elena had one thing Marcus didn't expect: a connection. Months earlier, Elena had volunteered at a youth music program in Los Angeles. A charity event had brought in a few donors. Michael Jackson had quietly funded new instruments for the kids. Elena had met him for less than 5 minutes. Just enough time to thank him, just enough time for him to ask what she did for a living. "A public defender," she had said. Michael had nodded like that mattered. "That's hard work," he'd said simply. They exchanged no numbers, no promises, no follow-up. So when Marcus's case started collapsing under public pressure, Elena didn't think of celebrities. She thought of evidence, witness statements, alibis, and then she thought of one more thing: credibility. The problem wasn't only that Marcus was accused, the problem was that nobody wanted to believe he could be innocent. In that town, he was already convicted in people's minds. Elena was sitting alone in her office one night, staring at a stack of files, when she remembered Michael's words. That's hard work. She didn't know why the memory came back. Maybe because she was tired. Maybe because she needed one small sign that someone in the world still cared about innocent until proven guilty. On impulse, she wrote a letter. Not to the press, not to a politician, to Michael. She didn't ask him to save Marcus. She didn't ask him to pay anyone. She didn't even ask him to show up. She simply explained the situation and asked one question: if you believe in fairness, would you be willing to write a private character letter, not for publicity, just for the judge to understand the human being behind the headlines? Elena mailed it and assumed she'd never hear back. 2 weeks later, her office phone rang. A calm voice on the line: "This is Mr. Jackson's office. We received your letter." Elena's heart stopped for half a second. "He wants to help," the voice continued, "but he needs to understand something first. Is this man truly innocent?" Elena swallowed. "Yes," she said, "and I can prove why the case is wrong." There was a pause. Then, "Send the documents." Elena faxed everything: alibi details, timeline inconsistencies, witness contradictions, the piece the local news kept ignoring, a security log that placed Marcus across town at the time of the alleged incident. 3 days passed, then another call. "He read it," the voice said. "He's writing the letter himself." Elena didn't know whether to cry or laugh. "What should it say?" she asked, half afraid. The voice replied, "He said, it will say the truth." A week later, a sealed envelope arrived by courier. No flashy logo, no public statement, no announcement, just a letter on simple stationery, signed Michael Jackson. Elena stared at it for a long time before opening it, because she understood the risk Michael had taken. In 1990, his name alone could turn a courtroom into a circus if it leaked. People would accuse him of influencing justice. They'd call it a stunt. They'd make it about him instead of Marcus. But the letter wasn't written like a stunt. It was written like someone who had once been judged by headlines too. Elena read it once, then again. And when she reached the final paragraph, her throat tightened so hard she had to sit down. Because Michael didn't just write, "He seems nice." He wrote something deeper, something that cut through the town's certainty. A trial is where truth is supposed to matter more than rumor. If we stop believing that, we stop being a society. The day the letter was entered into evidence, the courthouse was packed. Not because they cared about fairness, because someone had whispered Michael Jackson's name in the hallway, and suddenly everyone wanted to see what he had done. Marcus sat at the defense table in a wrinkled suit that didn't quite fit, hands trembling under the wood. His mother sat behind him, clutching a tissue like it was a lifeline. Elena stood and addressed the judge. "Your Honor," she said, "I have a private character statement for the court. It is not for the jury and not for the press. It is offered only to help the court understand the gravity of condemning someone without proof." The prosecutor objected immediately, predictable, loud. But the judge, Harold Winthrop, was an older man with tired eyes. He had seen too many cases like this, people crushed by noise. He looked at Elena. "Proceed." "Oh." Elena handed the sealed letter to the bailiff, who brought it to the judge. The judge opened it slowly. The courtroom held its breath. He read silently at first, then his expression changed. Not excitement, not fan recognition, something more serious. He looked up once, briefly, at Marcus, then back down, and then he did something nobody expected. He read part of it aloud, not the whole letter, just the part that mattered. "A trial is where truth is supposed to matter more than rumor." The words echoed through the room like they belonged there. The prosecutor shifted, suddenly uncomfortable. The judge continued. "If we stop believing that, we stop being a society." Silence. The kind of silence that doesn't happen often in courtrooms full of people who came to watch someone lose. Marcus's mother began to cry quietly. Marcus stared straight ahead, eyes glossy, trying not to break. Elena watched the judge's face. Something had moved. Not because the judge was a Michael Jackson fan, because the sentence reminded him what his job was supposed to be. The trial continued. Witnesses testified. The prosecution pressed their narrative. The defense chipped away at contradictions. Elena introduced the security log, the timestamps, the phone records. She showed that what the town knew was built on assumptions, not facts. The jury deliberated for hours. When they returned, Marcus's hands were shaking so hard, Elena slid a pen into his palm just so he'd have something to grip. The foreman stood. "Not guilty," he said. Marcus didn't react at first. Not because he didn't hear it, because his brain didn't trust it. Then his mother made a sound, half sob, half prayer, and Marcus finally dropped his head into his hands. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed and people shouted questions. "Do you have a statement? Are you going to sue? What about Michael Jackson's letter?" Marcus didn't answer any of it. He just looked at Elena and whispered, "Why would he do that?" Elena swallowed hard. "Because he believes truth matters," she said. Later that week, Elena received one more envelope, no return address. Inside was a short note in Michael's handwriting. "I'm glad they listened. Tell him to live." That was it. Not tell the media, not tell the world, not credit me. Just tell him to live. Marcus never met Michael, but the letter saved him anyway. Because sometimes the most powerful defense isn't a microphone. It's someone with influence choosing to use it quietly, for a stranger, in a room where truth is supposed to win. If this story stayed with you, please like and subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that justice still matters. Have you ever seen one small act shift the outcome of something huge? Tell us in the comments and hit the notification bell for more untold, documentary-style stories from the world of music.